Let's talk about RFKJ because he's getting it too, Glenn. I mean, he is speaking of the disruptor, right? You got Hegseth, disruptor, Tulsi for sure, Elon, not in a cabinet post, but helping, disruptor. And now you've got RFKJ, perhaps the ultimate. He might be the ultimate disruptor. And they are so afraid of him. I am not going to lie. I'm enjoying their terror. I'm enjoying their terror around RFKJ. Yes, he is very unusual. Yes, he has very negative things to say about the FDA. This is why we're hiring him. This is why we love him. This is why he had a groundswell of support behind him, which is what made Trump value his endorsement, which is now what's making Trump give him this position. But instead, we're getting sound bites like this from former HHS secretary under Obama, Kathleen Sebelius.
So this could be very dangerous. I think it's totally disqualifying for anyone who seeks to lead the major health agency in this country and one of the leaders in the world to just unequivocally say there is no safe and effective vaccine. That in and of itself, from the bully pulpit of HHS, could end up killing people, could end up harming children. So could we be healthier? You bet. Could we work more collaboratively on preventive care? Absolutely. But eliminating scientists, ignoring the facts, not paying attention to data, and using the agency to discourage and scare people away from medical breakthroughs, I think is really terrifying.
Not paying attention to data. That's the problem, Glenn, with RFKJ.
When you were on the break, I happened to see this CNN panel where they were talking about Tulsi Gabbard, all of them opposed, of course, and their argument was if someone's going to lead the intelligence agencies, they should believe in the intelligence agencies and support what they've done. It's like, no, that is not the Trump agenda. The Trump agenda is that these intelligence agencies are broken, they're corrupt. So of course you want to put someone in there who sees the same problems. Same with the healthcare system. First of all, RFK Jr. his whole life has been not just a loyal Democrat, but the kind of liberal that people would like. Obama strongly considered him, making him the head of the EPA because he was an environmental lawyer battling against large corporations and their toxic dumping in our river streams and our water supply. And it was during COVID when people decided that he was somehow, off the reservation or out of the question of decency because he was questioning a lot of the orthodoxies coming from Anthony Fauci and his little horde that turned out to be not just questionable, but false. And the whole liberal establishment, the media, the kind of Western liberal establishment was demanding that we all swallow mindlessly everything that Fauci was saying about the health industry. And RFK Jr. was one of the very few people out there saying a lot of this seems very questionable. This is the irony, Megyn, is that I've talked to RFK before, I've interviewed him. His primary belief is that the entire healthcare apparatus, the agencies that regulate big pharma, big food, big agriculture, the insurance companies, are all in the pocket of these industries, that they're regulatorily captured by these industries, and they do whatever these big companies want. They approve, medicines before they're properly tested or vaccines that will benefit these companies' bottom line. They allow food companies to put in all sorts of toxic ingredients that make its production cheaper, but make its negative impact on our health much worse. These were all left-wing ideas for decades, the idea that these industries are captured by big industry. This is RFK's primary view of what is wrong with our healthcare system. To watch Democrats turn around and attack him for that, similar to how it's some kind of a problem that Tulsi Gabbard questions wars and questions the intelligence agencies, also a long-time left-wing cause, shows this realignment of the Democratic Party with these big industries. It's why they appeal to affluent voters. It's why they appeal to the ruling class voters. And Donald Trump ran against that. And so this is what you're seeing is they love the people they believe, even though the Republicans who are kind of Republican insiders, the Marco Rubios, the Elise Stefanik, et cetera. What was really upsetting them are the people who are there to uproot the institutional corruption that everyone sees before their own eyes. She ran that agency, Kathleen Sebelius did. So of course she thinks that, it's fundamentally good. It doesn't need any fundamental corrections. Our health is clearly in crisis as a citizenry. The the pieties that were given out about COVID, even people banned from questioning them, many of them turned out to be false. These institutions are rotted from the root, and a lot of them need to be uprooted. And that is, I'm happy to say, what Trump's appointees are there to do. And of course, it's going to make the people who are institutionalists extremely upset and even scared. And those are the kinds of people who need to be scared.
That's right. They fear the disruptors, and he is chief among them. Lawrence O'Donnell picking up on Kathleen Sebelius, talking about how, people will die. Whatever. Here's, take a listen to him.
But the most important thing to know about Robert Kennedy Jr. is that there are probably people dead tonight because of him. Thousands of people who followed his medical advice on vaccines in the middle of a deadly pandemic. At least Matt Gaetz didn't kill anyone.
Got it. He's a killer because he questioned Fauci and the conventional wisdom about vaccines. We've seen this in so many articles since Trump named Bobby Kennedy that he's dangerous and he killed people because he had skepticism about vaccines. Meanwhile, none of these same so-called journalists or newspapers will acknowledge the myocarditis caused by those vaccines in young men, 15, 16-year-old men, across the country and beyond, leading to death, leading to heart scarring. And doctor after doctor after doctor has looked at this. And honestly, if you have a young boy who had the vaccine, you should have an EKG and potentially an echocardiogram done if he's received the vaccine. I've heard pediatric cardiologists say this. So, and not nutcases, not far left. Like, why? Even now, they're admitting that this is a known problem with the vaccines, but it's all RFKJ's fault for bringing up points like this.
Well, and also, the whole regulatory approval process is so wrong. These drug companies get whatever they want. There's no questioning allowed. And, so many of the COVID policies that we were told had to happen have had huge, terrible effects on our children, on the population, school closings, just all kinds of isolation, forced mask wearing, the idea that the vaccine was going to stop the spread of the virus, which turned out to be a total lie. Do you know how many social and mental health problems there are because of all these prolonged school closings and quarantines and lockdowns that destroyed people's lives, isolated people further, exacerbated mental health problems, stunted the intellectual and emotional development of children? There were huge harms that came from this COVID religion that nobody was allowed to question, and RFK Jr. was one of the few people doing so. So if RFK Jr. was going to get in and just say, I'm banning all vaccines, and vaccines are now criminal, that would be cause for concern. RFK Jr. is not going to do that. One of the things he opposes is not vaccines, but the vaccine mandate. You were just talking about, young boys who took the vaccine. We were forced to vaccinate our young kids because there was no way they could go to school or enter buildings or anything because of vaccine mandates. And we didn't want to. I really regret it. I wish we didn't have to, but we were forced to. Vaccine mandates are maybe in extreme cases justified, but in general, they're horrific because of bodily autonomy. Most of what RFK Jr. was questioning, most of what he was disputing, he turned out to be right about. And that's what they're really most upset about, is he questioned their credibility and undermined their religion and their right to issue decrees without being questioned.
I don't think the vast majority of parents have to worry. I think in most cases, they were harmless, and that's great. That's good. But in too many cases, there was a risk, and depends on your child and his interaction with it. Our pediatrician told us that they're mandating EKGs for all kids now, all kids who are like school age and playing sports, middle school and up. That as a baseline now, they didn't say it's because of COVID, the virus itself, or the vaccines, but they're mandating it for all kids. And in my case, we have a family history with my dad who died at age 45 of a heart attack. So we're actually going to get echoes for our kids too, just as our kids did not get the vaccine. But I'm just saying, I don't want to make people to get worried, because I know I feel this way about myself, because I took 2 vaccines, I took 2 shots and a booster. And I worry, like, whenever people say, like, you're going to die, I'm like, oh God, you're really kind of freaking me out. So I don't want to make people feel that way about their kids, but why wouldn't we check it out, right? Like, just check it out. It's our kids. It's an EKG is so easy.
Also, Megyn, what the problem about this is that it was true that for kids under 20, 25, even people under 30, the risk from COVID was infinitesimally small. Yeah. And one of the ways they tried to scare everybody into getting these vaccines was by hiding that fact, concealing it, making it seem like it wasn't just old people who were at risk or people with particular immune problems or respiratory illnesses that they had before COVID who were at risk. They tried to make it seem like the fatality and danger of this virus was much higher than it actually was, because they needed to justify COVID mandates. And when it came to deciding whether or not we wanted to vaccinate our kids, the main issue was 12-year-old, 15-year-old, 10-year-old boys are not dying from COVID, especially healthy ones. They're just not. And so to put an experimental vaccine into their body, even though I'm sure they're going to be, the odds are, as you said, overwhelmingly safe, that it's overwhelmingly safe, it was just a risk-benefit analysis that we were robbed of the ability to make for our own kids. And I think a lot of people are angry about that. And RFK Jr. is one of them.
Yeah. And we've interviewed families who have lost kids in the wake of this. And they've gotten no acknowledgement. They've gotten no settlement for what it's worth. They can't, because they were provided with immunity. But there's no acknowledgement. There's no come to Jesus. There's no ownership. And RFKJ would never sign off on those kinds of mandates. And now they're talking about Dr. Jay Bhattacharya potentially to oversee NIH. Yes! You guys remember him, one of the three co-authors of the Great Barrington Declaration, who said we need focused protection, look after the elderly, but this is nonsense to keep kids out of school and close down society. It's just reason is being restored, and we're going to have to fight it, because these people who have actual investments in many cases, in the system remaining as is, are going to come up with a lot of scurrilous, terrible allegations about these disruptors. And those of us on, the side of reason are going to have to steel ourselves for ugly battles, but they're worth it. What is the cause of many health problems in America today? It's simple: shitty food. Food that's engineered to keep us addicted, offering zero real nutrition, crafted by mega corporations that prioritize profit over our well-being. Our food system is very, very broken. And we just cannot rely on big food to put our health first. We know that. That's part of the reason Trump just got elected. If you are skeptical of the ingredients in the food you buy, or if you are looking for something new that you can trust, I want you to know about Kettle and Fire bone broth. I drink this stuff almost every day. Kettle and Fire bone broth. They're not even paying me for this personal endorsement. I actually happen to have been using this for the past couple of years. Kettle and Fire is not, they're paying me for this ad, but not for the personal endorsement. You see the difference. Just so happens they advertise with us. This is not just any broth. It's made using 100% grass-fed and free-range bones, slow simmered for over 14 hours to extract critical nutrients that your body needs to thrive. It's high in protein, and better yet, each recipe is crafted by world-class chefs to ensure the best taste possible. So with Thanksgiving right around the corner, consider using Kettle and Fire's broths to add rich, delicious flavor. No artificial flavors, no harmful pesticides, just simple ingredients to support your health. You can just make like a mug of it, or you can put it in a bowl. You can throw some vegetables in there if you want to make it, better. You could throw some like lentils, whatever you want, but just like 1 cup of this a day will really help your gut health. This is what my doctor told me, and I've been doing it. Find Kettle and Fire in the broth aisle at grocery stores nationwide. And for a limited time, my viewers and listeners will get up to 15% off by going to kettleandfire.com/MK. That's kettleandfire.com/MK. Or you can pick it up on your next grocery store trip. Kettle, Kettle, and Fire. Play with your food, folks, not your health. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.